All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about an absolutely incredible journey, and it's one that happens inside you every single day. So, you take a bite of your favorite food, you chew, you swallow, and then what? It just kind of feels automatic, right? But what's actually going on under the surface? Well, it's this incredibly complex and honestly fascinating process that powers your entire life. So, let's follow that bite of food, shall we? I want you to picture it entering this super efficient, non-stop processing plant. But this isn't some factory made of steel and concrete. Nope. This factory is inside your own body. It's your digestive system, and it's on a mission to break down and soak up everything you need to stay energized and, well, alive. Okay, let's kick things off right at the beginning of this wild ride.
So, this first part of the trip, it's got three key stops. First up, the entry point, your mouth. From there, it goes down the food chute, that's the esophagus, and then plops right into what you can think of as the acid tank, your stomach.
But how does your body actually, break all that food apart? This is where we get into the real nitty-gritty, the great breakdown.
Your body has this amazing 1-2 punch it uses right from the get-go. First, there's mechanical digestion. That's the obvious part, right? The grinding and the churning from your teeth. But here's the cool part. At the exact same time, you've got chemical digestion happening. Enzymes in your saliva get to work immediately, starting to dissolve stuff like starches into simple sugars before you even think about swallowing.
Okay, so once you swallow, the food doesn't just drop into your stomach like a rock. No way. It gets actively pushed down this muscular tube, the esophagus. And get this, it's about 25 centimeters long. It uses these coordinated muscle waves, it's called peristalsis, to make sure the food gets exactly where it's going. It's so effective, you could literally eat upside down and it would still work.
All right, so now we're in the stomach, which is basically a powerful mixer. Here, that food gets churned around with some really strong stuff, hydrochloric acid and a special enzyme called pepsin. And they have one very specific mission: to start tackling the really tough job of breaking down complex proteins into smaller, much more manageable bits.
Okay, after surviving that acid bath in the stomach, our food is now prepped for maybe the most important part of the entire journey. It's about to enter the absorption zone. Now, the small intestine, this is where the main event really happens. After all that grinding and dissolving, this is where your body finally gets its reward. And to make sure it doesn't miss anything, the inside surface is covered in all these folds and tiny finger-like things. All told, it creates a surface area about the size of a tennis court. It's just incredible. This is where almost all of your vitamins, minerals, and nutrients get passed into your bloodstream. But listen, the small intestine isn't a solo act. It's got this absolutely vital support crew. You've got the liver, which is like the factory, producing bile to break down fats. Then there's the gallbladder. Think of it as the reservoir, storing that bile until the moment it's needed. And finally, the pancreas. It's the real powerhouse, pumping out a whole cocktail of enzymes that can digest pretty much everything. Carbs, fats, and proteins. What a team. So all the good stuff has been absorbed. But what about the leftovers? Well, we're now heading into the final stretch. So after the small intestine has pulled out all the useful nutrients, what's left over moves into the large intestine. And its main job is basically housekeeping. It soaks up most of the leftover water and salts, and then it compacts everything that remains into waste, getting it ready for, removal. Yet most of the time, this journey is pretty smooth. But just like any highway, sometimes you get traffic jams. So let's talk about a few of those common roadblocks.
You know the feeling. We've all been there, right? You finish a big meal, maybe something a little rich, and then you feel it. That awful, burning feeling creeping up your chest. So what's actually going on there? A lot of the time, that's GERD, or acid reflux. It's a classic digestive roadblock. Basically, the little valve between your esophagus and your stomach doesn't seal up tight, and that lets some of that super powerful stomach acid splash back up where it doesn't belong, into the esophagus, which just isn't built to handle that kind of stuff.
Okay, so what if the problem isn't so much a burning feeling, but more that your whole system just feels totally unpredictable?
Some days everything's fine, other days it's just a mess, and you have no idea why.
Well, that could be a sign of something called irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS. It's a really common disorder, and it messes with that final stretch of the journey we talked about, the large intestine. The good news is it doesn't actually damage the intestine, but man, it can cause a ton of uncomfortable and just plain unpredictable symptoms.
So we've seen the whole journey, and we've talked about some of the roadblocks. But here's the best part. You're pretty much in the driver's seat. So let's open up the guidebook on how to keep this whole system running as smoothly as possible. And the advice here, it's pretty straightforward, but it's so powerful. First, eating a diet that's rich in fiber. Think of it like a broom that sweeps your intestines clean. Of course, you need to drink plenty of water to help that fiber do its job. It's also a great idea to avoid things that irritate the system, like smoking and too much alcohol. That really puts a strain on your liver. Getting regular physical activity is huge too. It actually helps stimulate the muscles in your intestines to keep things moving along. And finally, especially after you turn 45, getting regular checkups is just the smartest way to catch any serious problems before they start. I mean, think about it. Your digestive system is this incredible, tireless machine. It works 24/7 for you, fueling literally everything you do. And it asks for so little in return. So, after seeing this whole journey up close, my question for you is, what's one small thing you're going to do today to help its journey go just a little bit smoother?